Thank you very much indeed for watching. This is exclusive content from the World Retail Congress 2017, where I caught up with Terry Lundgren. Let's hear what Terry has to say. Well, Terry Lundgren, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Terry, you're the Executive Chairman of Macy's, and in a very nice way, both a legend of retail. Terry, yesterday at your keynote, you made a very interesting observation, which is when we retailers, when you've got your back to the wall, when things aren't going that great, that's when the metal sort of shines,
right?
And you're most inventive. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean that when you have no other choice, you find creative ways to succeed, right? Because your back's against the wall, so you must innovate, you must create, you must try new things. I think that's sometimes what gets in the way, but not just retail, but all businesses, is that we don't try enough new things. We don't, we're satisfied with the status quo. We're satisfied with where we are, so we don't try new things. We have to constantly be trying new things, because at some point in time, the old things aren't going to work anymore. This business moves too quickly, and so we have to constantly be trying new ideas, and I think that's when we become most innovative, when we have to.
And how would you categorize at the moment? I mean, you've been through many sort of cycles, yes. The retail cycles, the global economic cycles,
right.
None of which anyone's immune to. But how would you categorize where we are at the moment? Is that something you've seen before, or are we in a very different space?
Well, we're in a different place, but I will start by saying that I've heard this before. I have heard that we're doomed, and we're all going to stop shopping in stores and only going to shop this way versus that way. And it's been, only shop on your television and only shop on a catalog, and now it's only shop online. None of those have been true in the past. They've all had a profound impact for some period of time, but over time, the consumer has chose to spend time in the physical store and also do that other activity. And I certainly believe that's true when you begin this search on your mobile device of where you will shop. But I think still, clearly this has been the case in America. About 85% of the transactions still take place in a physical store. Even though we're very well developed online at Macy's and at Bloomingdale's, the nation is only 15% developed as a percent to total. So I still believe that'll change. It'll go up 15, 16, 17, but I don't think it's going to go flip-flop into the majority of sales online in the relatively near future.
Now, you're recalibrating your physical estate at the moment,
yes.
Closing some stores. Does it pain you to close a store?
Oh, well, it pains me because it impacts people. Yeah. That's why it pains me, So, it impacts communities, because Macy's is part of the community of communities across the United States. And so when we close a store, we not only have an impact on those individuals who work in our store, but the money that they spend in that community, the marketing we do in that community, the charities that we support in that community. So that's what pains me. That part's very difficult. The rationalization of real estate in the United States is required. There's too much space devoted to retail, significantly more than any other country in the world. And so that rationalization has to take place, and you see that, I think I showed a slide yesterday, there were 17 retailers that made an announcement in the last 6 months of closing up to, in some cases hundreds of stores, but all in well over 1,000 brick and mortar locations. That has to take place, because the online business is no longer incremental. It's just simply growing it online and coming out of stores. So that rationalization must take place.
You're obviously making very strategic decisions about your capital expenditure. Digital is becoming more important. You're spending more money on digital. How do you start to make those choices about which digital innovations you chase after and which digital innovations you sort of let pass, because you can't do everything?
Yeah, well, you're right, and we've learned that, and so we spend about $1 billion a year on capital expenditures at our company between Macy's and Bloomingdale's and our beauty business called Blue Mercury. And at some point, when it's going up over here, it comes down over here, and so you have to make sure you're giving enough to all the categories that you want to succeed in the future. Very difficult to make those choices about where you believe you're going to get the best return on investment. We were very early in investing online, and that's why, in our case, at least in America, we're considered the most developed in mobile, technology, in online fulfillment, in the whole omnichannel space. But we have to also make sure we're investing in the other places, including stores, by the way. And by making this decision of rationalization, I'm reducing the store footprint with the same amount of money left for capital expenditures that I can put into and affect, therefore, a larger percent of my fleet of stores. So these are hard decisions that we have to make, but we're constantly thinking about where do we get the best long-term return on investment. And then there's some minimum standards that you must invest in as well. So it's that combination, that way I think about it.
Clearly, to launch a store from scratch is a huge task. It's also a massive capital investment. In China, you've taken a slightly different approach. You've gone in virtually as opposed to gone in physically. Maybe you can explain to us a bit about the thinking behind that.
I've been looking at China for a good 10 years. I've been traveling to China for a long time, but I've been looking specifically to go into China with a business for the last 10 years. We have developed a joint venture partnership with the Feng family, and 65 for us, 35% for them. And we started thinking about stores first, and that would be our natural instinct, right? But as time has gone on and as we've looked more closely, it looks like they've made some mistakes in some places in China with too much development in physical retail. And we said, we've seen this movie before in the United States, so why don't we learn about the customer first and start online? So instead we put a team of people who are solely devoted to Macy's.cn and then the Macy's relationship with Alibaba through Tmall, and we're learning about the customer first, because I believe first you have to learn what do they want from you, why are you different, what do you have to offer that's not already being offered in China, and second, I want the customer to know us when they come and travel to the United States, which I believe will be a big business as the middle class grows and travels, and when they do, they'll travel eventually to the United States.
Sure, well, China, sort of outbound tourism, I think is the largest market in the world now for outbound tourism. Would you say now that actually that's quite an interesting model for retailers, using the new technologies, virtual stores in order to really understand a market before putting a physical presence in? I
think so, but I haven't proven it yet, so I'm brand new.
The jury's out.
The jury's out, as they say. I've only had this approach for a year, but it seems to make sense to me to make that investment first before you make the physical commitment to capital expenditure and build a store.
And the platform that you're using is a collaboration with Alibaba,
that's
China's
correct,
largest e-commerce player.
Yes, Alibaba's been worked very well with us. In fact, at one of my dinners last night, we were having a conversation with the chief global marketer, but they've been very accessible from all the way up to the CEO of Alibaba through the middle management team. My team in China has met them, I've met them, and so I think we're working very collaboratively together. I think they find us very interesting as being one of the most well-known department store brands in the world, and we find, of course, them very interesting, being the most perhaps successful online business in the world, and so we have a lot to learn together.
Terry, as well as being a legendary retailer, you're also on the board of the Federal Reserve. How do you view the world economy at the moment? It seems very odd, in a sense, as China sort of looks outwards, the rest of the world seems to be looking inwards.
Yes, I'm on the board of the New York Federal Reserve Bank, and it's been a very interesting experience learning about the world economies and how the economies are performing in different parts of the world. And it is very interesting. It's very interesting in the United States. It's very interesting, and the Brexit was a surprise, I think, to many.
I think it's a surprise. So don't blame me. I didn't vote for it.
I don't know if it's right or wrong or good or bad. I just know it's a surprise to many of us who are viewing that decision from the United States, and so it's complicated to know where this, where it's going next. I will say though that around the world you can see the pockets of strength economically as a foundation, even though there's some unusual swings here and there. There's a consistency in many countries of just a baseline economic stability that would encourage us to believe that you could invest in those economies in the future.
And as both a major employer and also as a major contributor to economies around the world, are you finding from a strategic top position now that making some of those calls in terms of investments are challenging in a world where you're not exactly certain what is going to happen over the course of the next few years?
I do indeed. I think that there's so much movement at this point in time. What's always served me well is to work my very best to study, research, and think about the next 5 years. Not just focus on what's happening right now, because very often what's happening right now will clutter your mind and cause you to make a bad short-term decision, but rather to try to imagine where you would like to be with your company, with your brand in the next 5 years. Stay on that path and invest in that direction. That's what how we try to think about it.
You spoke about uniqueness and having unique products, unique brands as being one of the key strategic pillars for success in the future. How important do you think brands are, both to you as an organization and to the consumers?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question also. First, let me start with the exclusivity piece, because I think today I'm talking about the United States, there's so much retail available, there's so much product available, that why would a customer choose you when they can find that same product somewhere else, anywhere else, delivered to them for free, and maybe discounted, and it's discounted because there's just too much. There's oversupply, not enough demand. Economics 101. And so first, start with unique product that consumers want, but there's less supply out there than demand. And I think that is a formula for success, because frankly, every consumer doesn't want to see that what they're wearing is being worn by everybody else around, right? It's one, and two is there's a profit model that makes sense for the retailer as well. So I start with that, and then I think about brands themselves. The baby boomer generation was very loyal to brands. They knew the size and fit for this particular brand, and they would order it very easily. I think today's consumer, perhaps less focused on brands, but I also believe that once a consumer, whether they're 20 years old or 50 or 60 years old, once they get a product that they like very much, they'll associate themselves with that brand because of its styling, because of its fit, more so than because of its label.
Macy's is one of the most iconic brands in the US, has a tremendous history. I think the Macy's Parade is the second largest watched program in the world.
Only behind the Super Bowl, right?
That's not bad.
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. How important is the brand to you as the chairman? I mean, does it occupy your mind, your brain space, your management space?
Definitely. The brand is everything. When you enhance the brand, when you enhance the experience of the Macy's brand, when you elevate the brand, it's good for the long term for our company and for the connection and engagement with our consumers. And when you damage the brand, it takes a long time to repair it. So I'm passionate, person who covets our brand, protects our brand, and I thought about that when we came to Dubai with Bloomingdale's. It's the first time we've ever let the name go, either Macy's or Bloomingdale's go, and let somebody else run the business for us. I was very, very protective of who would be our partner, what controls we would have to ensure that the brand would be positively represented here.
Finally, Terry, looking to the future, is this a great time to be a retailer, or is this really a scary time to be a retailer?
Both, but both, mostly an exciting time to be a retailer. I speak on college campuses with some frequency, and I'd say that to young people, and we've had no problem attracting young people, because I say, look, if you want an easy, no challenge job, you get in and check the clock and go in and out. I said, don't come to work for us, because we're far far more challenging and exciting, and particularly at this point in time. So I think it's a very exciting time. As I said, one of your first early questions, is that these complicated periods require that we become more innovative. We try new things, we test and learn, and then we move forward with and roll out the best ideas. It's a very exciting time. Some great things are going to come out of this period of time, and you'll see that over the next few years.
Well, Terry, this evening you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at the World Retail Congress here in Dubai. Many congratulations. It's very well deserved, and thank you very much indeed for talking to me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed for watching. This is just one of the interviews that we conducted at the World Retail Congress 2017 in Dubai, where we broadcast every night with an hours-long program. In order to see any of those programs or to watch any of the other interviews, just go to this website here. My name's David Roth from WPP. Thank you very much indeed for watching.